Hi, I'm Dominique Walker with City TV. Welcome to Inside Santa Barbara, the city's only news magazine show. We bring you up to date on the city's most significant issues, projects, and events. Well, yellow is a color associated with many things, from sunshine to smiley faces. And now, if you take a walk down the streets of some of Santa Barbara's business districts, you may just begin to associate this warm and friendly hue with something, or rather someone else, the city's new community service liaisons. In our first story, we introduce you to these uniquely qualified city employees and see how they're bringing rays of hope to the people they touch. At first glance, Timmy Waverick's job, spending all day at the beach, walking up and down the waterfront, visiting with people, may seem like a dream. Yet while Timmy does chat with tourists, residents, and business owners, the focus of her job is more serious: the homeless.
Hello, how are you? It takes time with a lot of them because a lot of them are very apprehensive. You know, they don't want help. But I think by approaching them, in a friendly, manner, we're not the police, we're not trying to enforce anything, we just want to see if you're okay. And then I explained to all of them, too, the ones that do ask the questions, is that, we're also here to make sure you're not victimized. So that's a good thing. So it's a good thing that you see us around.
In recent years, there has been a desire for greater police presence downtown, along the beachfront, and in the Milpas Street area. However, due to a foundering economy, those same years have been the ones where the city could least afford to increase its payroll. Now, thanks to an innovative new program, the city has found a way to address both of these issues.
And I explained to everyone that, it's not against the law to be homeless or mentally ill, but I understand where you're coming from. So we wanted to work together, so we got together with the business community, and we wanted to do something for the business community and our residents, but also for the individuals who happen to be homeless and mentally ill.
So after years of development and collaboration between the city and the business community, in the fall of 2011, the police department debuted the Community Service Liaisons program.
The one thing that makes us unique is that the other two communities who have restorative policing do not have these men and women who are non-sworn helping. They're doing it all with police officers. And we're the only ones that are doing it with the combination of police officer partnering with these non-sworn folks that we've hired to help us here.
Are you good?
Yeah, I was just checking in. They had a problem, I guess, Best Western with somebody, so I was going to go check that out.
The first iteration of our program, if you will, is designed to rebuild contacts with the merchants and the visitors, tourists, and the community at large of the people that are in the heavy pedestrian precincts, downtown corridor, beachfront, and the Milpas Street corridor.
These three districts were strategically chosen by the police department. By having the community service liaisons in these heavily trafficked areas, residents, business owners, the police department, and tourists benefit.
Part of my responsibilities at work, being the supervisor of our tactical patrol force, is to deal with a lot of the nuisance-related crime that's quite often typically associated with the homeless population. So we're looking at the areas that are most affected by those type of crimes, and that's where we've kind of identified the areas that we want to make the biggest impact.
The new program takes a three-pronged approach. The first order of business was to reach out to businesses to let them know that they have a voice within the police department.
I wanted to make sure that we understood what their problems were and that we could better address the problems at hand with my enforcement detail. So the first prong, if you will, the first phase of the program was to reach out and build those relationships.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Relationship building is the main reason that each of the three areas has two dedicated community service liaisons. So far, the program has been a hit with the business community.
I hear great things about them. I see them in action, and I've seen them literally hugging people, and they're getting hugged back. So I think all around, I think it's a good holistic way to approach our homeless mentally ill community.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Mike Wiggins, general manager at Segway Santa Barbara, says this holistic approach is exactly what was needed for the waterfront area where his business is located.
Both of them have been just influential in creating a change on the beach. I've seen a big change just in overall less problems on the beach, less confrontations. I couldn't imagine not working with them. I mean, they've just been great, just great. We just did the mixer last night for the downtown area business owners, and everybody was talking about them.
Employees at Segway Santa Barbara have a unique relationship with the community service liaisons on the waterfront, Timmy Waverick and Abe Lopez. Since Segway's business revolves around touring up and down Santa Barbara's waterfront area, they can serve as an extra pair of eyes. And now with the Community Service Liaison program, they have direct contacts to share any issues with.
The homeless problem has also got many different facets, so the way I see it is there's those who want to hand up and there's those who want to hand out. And then you've also got your mental health issues, drug and alcohol abuse, and I love Santa Barbara. I want to see it remain the city that it is. So they help kind of address those issues that go unseen and ignored and actually help people to get into a better position.
And by expanding the lines of communication, the liaisons help the police department identify and target the most pressing problems and allocate resources more effectively.
We've created a program where if there's a particular chronic problem that's occurring, and it may not have to do with the homeless, it could do with gangs, it could do with graffiti, it could do with parking problems, traffic, whatever that business owner in particular is dealing with, the liaison will report that information back to me. We will then come up with a plan on how to address our resources to affect change in that area, and then I'll give that information back to the liaison. The liaison takes that information back to the business owner and says, this is what your police department's going to do for you, we've been listening. And then over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to visit the business owner and just say, hey, have we hit the mark? Are we doing what we're hoping to do? Can we have we solved the problem? Can we move on to another problem? So again, it's just a way to work smarter, hearing really what the problems are block by block in their pedestrian precincts, and addressing those problems as efficiently as possible.
To understand just how that efficiency impacts the entire community, consider this. For every call that a sworn police officer answers for public intoxication, disturbing the peace, or responding to a complaint, that is one less officer patrolling the streets.
Who is this? Who is it? You okay?
A lot of people ask, are we taking over social work? And we're not. It may appear to be social work, and a large component of what we do is socially minded, but our ultimate goal is to reduce calls for service for our first responders, police, fire, paramedics. We want to reduce the amount of beds that are used at Cottage Hospital and out at County Jail. In doing so, there's a huge cost savings that the community will recognize.
Police Officer Craig Burley sees the time and cost savings firsthand. He is one of 2 police officers assigned to the restorative policing program, who now works hand in hand with the community service liaisons on the streets. In just the first year of restorative policing alone, 11 of the most chronic offenders, people responsible for dozens of calls a year, have not reoffended in more than 6 months.
Wait, I got 15 and a half months.
Of sobriety?
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. It's a win-win situation for the city of Santa Barbara, the citizens of Santa Barbara, and a win-win situation for the client. Because for a real harsh calls for service, if we go down X amount of times on a drunk subject, it costs 2 police officers X amount of time to deal with that drunk subject on State Street.
But it's not only the officer's time that is saved with the new system. The amount of money that goes into arrests is drastically reduced for each offender the group works with.
It costs 2 police officers to go contact this person. If he's drunk and he's legally drunk, then we arrest him, and then with our jail system, we have to go to the Cottage Hospital, and that costs X amount of money, right, to get medical clearance. So if he's really drunk, we can't transport, then we have to call an ambulance, so that gets charged X amount for the ambulance ride. If it's during the night, then a fire truck has to respond. So then, and then once they're medically cleared from the hospital, then we have to drive them out to jail, book them for 647F public intox, and then the jail charges us, every person we book into jail. So there's thousands of dollars being saved.
For Officer Burley, working with the community service liaisons creates an additional set of eyes out on the streets to link restorative police officers to those cases where they can be most effective.
They are kind of like a filter for people that we miss, 24 hours a day. There's people that live on our streets. So they're kind of our filter or our connection to get people that are living on the street to the right resources.
Although both programs are relatively new, restorative policing and community service liaisons are proving to be a powerful combination.
No matter how effective we are, we may not reduce all of the problems, but if we identify those most chronic problems, the ones that are affecting us the most, and address them, that allows us just more free time to address those ones that we haven't been able to get to. So it's definitely, we're seeing a real good efficiency to our program in helping our overall goal of rendering the best possible customer service we can.
Goes back to that win-win situation where if we can get them off the street, they're not generating calls for service, and that's all emergency response, not just the cops, the medics, the fire department. If we have people that are arrested hundreds of times and then we are able to get them into long-term housing, right? That's our goal and our wish list. Then you think of all those hundreds of calls for service that we can relieve the city that financial burden.
As a former corrections officer, Waverick has seen what lies at the end of the line for repeat offenders.
As you can imagine, that was a very intense environment and volatile environment. So being out here in the public, I mean, it's just I'm not in a uniform, so I'm not the one enforcing the rules. I'm helping them to guide by the rules. So it's much different, and I'm very, very happy. I mean, this is one of the most positive places I've worked, and the rewards are tenfold.
For Waverick, the relationship she builds with both business owners and the homeless population has been both a drastic and welcome change from her previous work experience.
It gives a sense of hope back in me after being through, 25 years of a system that isn't always so nice to see, and to coming back and being on the preventive side of it is really what it's about for me.
And that feeling of satisfaction with the program is mutual.
Now, I can call either one of them, whether I'm here at work or out in the field, or if I remember something and I've taken a picture of something, I get home and I remember night or day. Abe has always answered my phone calls. Timmy's always been there. They've been great. I can't tell you how much I love working with them. They've been awesome.
That progress, made one connection, one touched life at a time, is changing law enforcement in Santa Barbara. It's also changing the lives of all those involved.
We want you to succeed. So from the point of the timeline, what timeline were you referring to? If I'm in a situation where I can approach somebody, it could be as little as introducing myself, and that's all they needed. All they needed was for someone to approach them, and then then it's like, okay, I need these services. I can call, the restorative specialist to get them the help that they need, and that to me is very rewarding because it was just a matter of someone being kind, just approaching them. That simple, And then it could be others that take months and months of building that relationship, the trust, to say, okay, we're not going to push you when you're ready. We'll be here, and so it's very rewarding on that sense.
So the next time you're on the streets and see a community service liaison, give them a wave or say hi. As the color implies, they're a friendly group. The Carrillo Recreation Center has a long history in our community and is now known as a great place to get in shape or learn some new dance moves. Personally, I've loved every class I've taken there, everything from swing dancing to Tai Chi to the latest fitness craze, Zumba. In our next story, Inside Santa Barbara's Sandrine Tien shows us how this community jewel is shining once again.
Originally built from brick and wood in 1914 by J. Corbly Poole, the Carrillo Recreation Center was used extensively during World War I to support the war efforts and after the 1925 earthquake as an evacuation center. After so many years of community use, the Carrillo Recreation Center desperately needed restoration to meet current building codes and also to provide accessibility.
There were a lot of needs that the building had that were not being addressed. So there were a lot of accessibility issues. We had no elevator, the bathrooms were not even close to code. Those were systems that were breaking down, plumbing, electrical, and we weren't sure about the seismic stability of the building, so we looked at that as well. And so this renovation kind of encompassed all of those different things. The process got started actually many, many years ago, and it was identified as one of the facilities to target for RDA funding. So we didn't really have an idea of what the budget was at the time, but they put aside $5 million. Some of that was used for Fire Station 1 because we didn't know what the cost would be for this building. When everything was said and done, the final cost was $5.2 million, 100% funded by the redevelopment agency.
During the year-and-a-half-long construction, old blueprints and notes were found inside the building walls. They belonged to Julia Morgan, the famous architect that designed Hearst Castle, and also helped design a small part of the recreation center.
Julia designed actually just a little add-on on this building. The loggia, which is a covered patio to the rear of the building, was her work. We knew that she had designed the two buildings around us. The Carrillo Street Gym was designed right after the earthquake that destroyed the old gym. But the other work that she did here, the gym and the outdoor patio, the loggia, were attributed to her, and we found her notes when she worked on these buildings.
The recreation center reopened in September 2011. When the mayor and city council cut the red ribbon, letting the public back into this community facility.
Everything looks much nicer now. It was looking tired and needed a lot of love. So it got that love, but there are a lot of functional improvements as well. So bathrooms that people with wheelchairs can get in and out of now. We have an elevator that we sorely needed, and it was strategically placed, only one place that would really fit in the building. We converted one of the old offices, because we had office suites scattered throughout the building, converted one of those to a third dance studio, so it's giving us even more space that we can serve the public with.
The recreation center is now fully operational and offers a wide variety of fitness, dance, and sports programs for all ages to enjoy.
We have private rentals as well. We have a church group that rents on Sundays. We have homes that are auctioned off every other Wednesday morning, and people can rent for a wedding reception or a nonprofit fundraiser in addition to the ongoing classes that we have here. On any given day, we may have 25 or so classes throughout the facility. Right now we have a Tiny Tots martial arts happening in the other room, lots of dance, lots of fitness. Right now Zumba is one of our most popular fitness programs.
Zumba is one of the recreation center's most popular classes. It is a Latin-inspired, easy-to-follow, calorie-burning dance party. It's fun, energetic, and an effective way to enjoy a great workout. Zumba is only one out of 70 classes offered weekly here at the Carrillo Recreation Center.
Gisette Tasic brings her spicy energy from southern Florida. She is a professionally trained dancer and fell in love with Zumba fitness. Her passion for health, fitness, and dance shows in the way she teaches her Zumba classes.
This place is a diamond in the rough. It is so beautiful, and the history alone is amazing, but the energy here, the facilities are second to none. They're really amazing. I've been in a lot of places, and this is really the best I've ever taught. It's amazing here.
Not only does the Recreation Center offer popular and unique dance and fitness programs from amazing instructors, but it extends its services as a venue for all types of events as well, like this teen event.
During the weekday, we rent the rooms kind of a la carte. We do have a lot of space that's already used for ongoing programs, but we've had, a horticultural group rent out the meeting room for a public outreach meeting. But on weekends, Friday and Saturday nights, when we're opening up some select dates for the public, you rent the entire ground floor. So you get the ballroom, you get the founder's room that we're in now, the two other downstairs rooms, the front courtyard and the back courtyard, all as a package deal. The recreation center here on Carrillo Street has always been kind of a heart of community in town. From before the earthquake, right after the earthquake, it became the bank, the pharmacy. It came up where a lot of the services were headquartered. So it's always been a well-loved, well-used facility. So there are activities for all ages. So if the residents have not experienced the facility, I'd love to have them come in and take a look at the programs and services that we offer here. And it's just a great place that celebrates community.
With the renovations complete, consider trying out one of their classes. You can sign up at sbparksandrecreation.com. We'll be right back with more Inside Santa Barbara.
Hi there, what's shaking? Been expecting me? This your shirt?
No.
Shame.
What are you doing?
Just checking to see how prepared you are. Any straps holding this down?
No.
Don't wait until disaster comes knocking. Be aware. Be prepared.
Kids, time to come in.
Minutes away. Hours of fun. See another world. Stearns Wharf, your local, affordable source for family fun. Welcome back. Santa Barbara's warm weather and blue skies are reasons many of us live here. But our climate does pose a problem when it comes to water use. Up next, City TV's Daria Baxter takes a look at the city's water sources and what steps we can all take to conserve this precious resource.
With the exception of a few late-season storms, this has been a very dry year in Santa Barbara. Our average annual rainfall is 18 inches, but this year we've only received 11 so far.
We do live in a semi-arid climate that is subject to drought, and so actually all of our water supply planning is really built around planning for drought. As soon as Kachuma stops spilling, we assume from the water supply perspective that we're heading into a new drought. So all of our actions, unless it's actively raining and the reservoir is filling, we assume that we're moving into a drought, and we ask people to use water accordingly. So this has been a pretty dry winter, and it's interesting because when it's been fairly dry, people tend to use more water because their gardens need more landscape. It's a good time to remember it's important to conserve. This might be the first of several dry winters, and so by being careful now and always, it helps us so that when we get into the 5th or 6th year of drought, we still can rely on our local supplies.
Lake Kachuma, our largest water supply, is just one of many local sources our city relies on to meet our water needs. Groundwater, recycled water, state water, Gibraltar Reservoir, and a desalination plant are also key sources. Connected to our city by Mission Tunnel, Gibraltar Dam is a vital water source.
Work on Gibraltar Dam began over 100 years ago, and for the last 90 years, Gibraltar served us as a key water source. And during that time, we've developed a lot of different strategies to make sure that this will be a continued source of water for the city and also other cities that we're in partnership with. Since 1920, we started off in the original capacity with over 14,000 acre-feet of water. Since then, we've had to deal with reductions in capacity due to siltation. The Zaka fire in 2007 had a serious impact on our capacity. We estimate that roughly 10 feet of silt entered the reservoir and reduced its capacity by 20%.
Although Gibraltar is not at its original capacity, it still provides our city with 4,600 acre-feet each year. It is clearly an important asset, allowing the city to meet our residents' water needs.
We draw water from Gibraltar at different times depending on the water quality, the amount of water. A lot goes into this decision making on when we utilize this resource. Some of that involves, of course, the level of the lake, the turbidity of the water, so how much treatment it will take to make the water to the high standards that we have.
Because Santa Barbara is prone to drought, It is important to have other sources of water in case Gibraltar Reservoir and Lake Kachuma cannot provide enough during an extended dry period.
We also have a desal plant, and it's not been used since the early 1990s, and we hope that it will stay in that state for a long time. But it's a great drought insurance policy, because in the event that we need another water supply, it is available. And we're connected to the State Water Project. And actually being connected to the State Water Project gives us a lot of flexibility, because it basically means we're connected to water supplies throughout the rest of the state. Even though we don't have water rights, if we get into a period of shortage, we have the opportunity to look for water to purchase from other areas.
Santa Barbara's many varied water sources and water conservation together meet our water supply needs. If we all do our part, we will have water in both wet years and dry times.
We do water conservation all the time. Water conservation is something that, whether it's a wet year or dry year, the city relies on water conservation to get us through dry periods. There are many benefits to water conservation, including saving money and time, keeping your landscape beautiful, and protecting the environment. There are so many opportunities for water conservation that the city has, and we really encourage you to call us and have us come out so we can just assist you in helping customize what those benefits could be for your home and landscape. For the most part, we're counting on the types of water conservation that so many of our customers have been doing for so long, and we're really grateful for how much Santa Barbara has done for water conservation. Our water customers have really taken great measures to save so much water, and we can all continue to do that and make a difference.
To take advantage of all the city has to offer for water conservation and to help do your part to conserve this limited resource, visit SaveWaterSB.org. The power of community collaboration in Santa Barbara can truly be seen in the recent landscape renovation at the Eastside Library, where thanks to hardworking volunteers and generous local businesses, residents now have a small oasis to escape to right in their neighborhood.
The Eastside Library, located at 1102 East Montecito Street, is a small but valuable resource for the Eastside neighborhood. The library is heavily used, and so every space, however small or big, is utilized.
We are here near elementary school, so we have children here all in the afternoons, and we have parents and families who use us daily.
I saw how many patrons, children, people, it was just a hub of activity, and yet the courtyards were in such sad shape.
Previously, the library's patios were uninviting spaces. That all changed with a recent landscape renovation.
The area was in dire need of help. And so my idea was to be able to utilize these spaces, make them more attractive for patrons to sit outside, use their Wi-Fi, read a book, or to sit outside and have a conversation.
This space is an example of how beautiful waterwise landscapes can be. The design was created through a collaboration of the City Water Conservation Program and the voluntary work of local landscape designer Wendy Glome and landscape architect Joan Raditz. The new landscape uses much less water because of the installation of waterwise plants, drip irrigation, and mulch.
This is an attitude that all of us need to take on when doing gardens, because it's not the absence of a garden, it's doing the garden correctly, massing the plants correctly, choosing the correct plants in the correct location. And then you can really save water, conserve, so that at a time when we're really running low on water, your garden will still be okay.
The Eastside Library's renovation project received funding from the Water Conservation City Facilities Retrofit Program.
One of the things that the city is doing is having demonstrations of beautiful waterwise landscapes throughout the city. And one way we do that is at city facilities, different city buildings, such as in our parks and our libraries and our city offices. We have been changing out the older landscape, or if it's a higher water using landscape, and putting in water-wise landscaping and beautiful water-wise plants.
One of the patios is designed specifically with children in mind in order to enhance their appreciation of the outdoors.
The intent was really to work it around all the different conditions, but especially the mural and the fact that we wanted the kids out here to really use the place.
The city continually strives to promote water conservation and environmental consciousness.
The city relies on water conservation to get us through dry times. We have a really extensive water conservation that's been ongoing for many, many years, and we continue to offer a lot of great incentives and rebates for our customers to save water. The water that we're saving today is going to get us through dry times, as well as help with the city's water supply planning for the future and for our children's children.
The accomplishment of the community can clearly be seen when you visit the library patios, which now offer a refreshing environment in stark contrast to before.
I'm just really proud that everyone came together so willingly, that it looks really good, it feels good, and the reception at the library has been wonderful. People just are hanging in the courtyards, they're enjoying themselves, everyone comes over to thank you. It's a wonderful feeling.
To be able to offer a beautiful place for all of our neighborhood people to come to has been really important to me. Goodness.
To find out how the city can help you transform your landscaping into one that is water-wise, visit savewatersb.org. In the next few episodes, we are going to introduce you to a few of Santa Barbara's sister cities. To begin, we take you to the far east. Chris Bell has the story.
Toba, a picturesque seaside community in southeastern Japan. This quaint tourist destination is half a world away, but it shares many traits with Santa Barbara.
We're both on the water. There are islands offshore. There's mountains behind, so the topography looks a lot similar.
Both Santa Barbara and Toba have been throughout history a magnet town for tourism and commerce and commercial fishing. Our major religious site, the Mission, was a long-standing attraction here, both for the study of the young priests who gathered there in the monastery and for tourists. And likewise, Toba has a very, very ancient Shinto shrine, one of the emperor's 3 shrines, top shrines in Japan.
With so many similarities, it's no wonder the cities became official sister cities in 1966. But the initial reason that relationship started was because of a more personal bond.
It started with a businessman out in Montecito, a Mr. Ted Smythe, who just coincidentally met a Japanese hotelier, an owner of Koachian in Toba, and the two men became personal friends. So our official relationship grew out of personal friendships.
In the 46 years since, the two cities have taken turns sending and hosting delegations.
When we've gone on trips to Japan with Toba Sister City, it's always been in celebration of an event, of a milestone in our relationship. And 40th anniversary trip or the 30th anniversary of the cityhood of Toba. And we usually combine some travel around Japan before we show up for the festivities in Toba.
Those trips were so successful, the two cities began to exchange students.
We take 4 students from Toba every summer, 2 boys, 2 girls, who are in the junior high school range, age 13 to 15. And then we send 4 Santa Barbara kids. And each of them stays with the other one's family, so it's really person-to-person, family-to-family direct exchange. They come back hale and hearty and eager to study Japanese or continue their practice of Japanese anime cartoons, or all sorts of connections develop out of this first initial early student exchange.
And just like family, the two cities have supported each other in times of trouble.
After the Painted Cave fire, when the delegation from Toba was here and gathered up such nice cash contributions for us, $16,000 in total, which went toward replanting trees and re-landscaping a school. Somehow the relationship got deeper as we kind of went through some tough times together.
Santa Barbara responded in kind after last year's tsunami, raising $40,000 to help Toba's devastated seaweed and oyster farmers.
It was really heartwarming and quite wonderful, actually, to see people of Santa Barbara have that connection to another city in Japan, that while they didn't see the devastating catastrophe that other places did, they were still affected, and they felt so grateful to have a group of people in the United States who thought about them. And it was just that connection, I think, that has made us stronger.
And so after nearly half a century, Santa Barbara's sister city relationship with Toba, Japan exemplifies the goals that President Eisenhower set forth when he established the national program in 1956.
It was put together after World War II, and the idea was that in order to even come close to an idea of world peace, you really have to talk about one person at a time, one family at a time, and not necessarily one government at a time. And so if communities can get together and connect on a global level, then it'll be a lot harder to fight against each other into the future.
Person-to-person diplomacy, grassroots diplomacy is what it's all about. Understanding someone whose life and language and environment are so different from yours that you can hardly imagine what their feelings and motivations are. But if you can understand that, even a little bit, it's much less likely that you'll be having disagreements that can lead to trade wars or hot wars or any other kind of disagreements.
I'm working on the
To learn more about our Sister Cities program, please call 564-5318. And make sure to watch our next episode, where we take you to another one of Santa Barbara's sister cities, Puerto Vallarta. Well, that does it for this episode of Inside Santa Barbara. If you have any questions or comments about the show, give us a call at City TV at 564-5311. And you can always watch this show and all our programming online at citytv18.com. I'm your host, Dominique Blocker. Remember to get involved inside Santa Barbara.